Thanks for listening to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in American soccer. And don't forget to subscribe.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast. My name is Jake Watroba, and joining me, as always, is Steven Jadaran and Arman Kafai. On today's episode, it's part 2 of our conversation with Alexi Lalas on Christian Pulisic. If you haven't yet, go back and listen to part 1, where we dive deeper into Greg Berhalter's tactics. As always, follow the show on Twitter at UncSamSoccerPod. We always enjoy and appreciate your comments and feedback. You can find the show on any major podcast platform, so make sure you subscribe to the show and leave us a 5-star review. Now, let's get to today's episode. Alexi, I wanted to ask you about Christian Pulisic. Me and Steven, before we recorded, were talking on the phone and basically wondering, is he really cut out to be this team's number 10? I mean, I'd like to get your take on that, because to me, I feel like he's better suited to play out wide, whereas obviously he's the best player on this team and he gets put into that number 10 role. But where do you see him in this cycle playing?
Okay, so first off, I would take issue with the fact that he's the best player on the team. If Christian Pulisic was the exact same player that he is right now, okay, but he was playing, let's say, up in New England for Brad Friedel or something like that, would you still say he's the best player on the team? I would argue that you wouldn't, and that's okay. I mean, look, perception forms reality, and so the big transfer, the fact that he's been playing over in Borussia Dortmund and now he's going to Chelsea, and look, he's a wonderful player, he's a wonderful talent. So that would be my first question. My second statement would be I like him out wide. I think he's more comfortable out wide. I think he is more dangerous out wide. But once again, you put him out wide, and who now plays that central position? Because he doesn't look comfortable when he is surrounded by players, and it's almost as if we're forcing it on the player who doesn't want to be in that position all the time. So once again, Greg Berhalter is going to have to figure that out. And is it a situation where Christian Pulisic has to be on the field? Can you even contemplate or fathom a situation where Christian Pulisic is not part of the 11 simply because he just doesn't fit? And I'm asking these questions. I don't necessarily have answers, but these are the questions that we're going to be asking going forward. Now, I think Christian Pulisic is going to come good. I think he's going to be an important part of the national team going forward. But like you said, it's just finding out what that appropriate position there where he is at his best and therefore makes the team better. That's Greg Berhalter's job, and I don't think we have quite seen that yet from a national team perspective.
Wait. Let me. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you suggesting Christian Pulisic might not be the best player within the U.S. men's national team talent pool?
Sure. I mean, I don't understand why you would say he's the best player. Just because he plays at Borussia Dortmund? Just because he got a transfer to Chelsea? Well, I mean, your best player, it can be anybody. The best player in, let's say, 1998 World Cup for the U.S. national team was Frankie Hejduk. Okay, some of the best players in the 2020 or 2002 World Cup were Landon Donovan and DeMarcus Beasley. So I mean, it just once again the perception of a player is one thing. The actual play. If you didn't know anything about the players on the field the other day in terms of their background, what their transfer fee was, what their history was, if you were just some alien that was dropped down that you knew about soccer and you were watching the national team, would you have looked at Christian Pulisic and said that is the best player on the national team? I mean, these are the questions that we have to ask, and that's not crazy. I don't think that's a crazy thing to happen. It doesn't mean that he can't be the best player on the national team and the most important player going forward. But right now, it's still early days, and I think he's still trying to figure out how he fits in and is going to integrate into a Greg Berhalter type of system. And I think Greg Berhalter is trying to figure out what the best position is for this player who is undeniably talented.
Well, I think a good comparison could be Will Trapp, who in the friendlies in the fall everyone was heavily criticizing him, but this past weekend he was a vital part of Berhalter's system. And let me ask you this: in the larger grand scheme of things, who is the most important player right now within the U.S. men's national team?
Oof. So you mentioned Will Trapp, and I agree with you that I've seen something new, and I don't know if it's new and different, but I've seen something improved in Will Trapp, and he is winning me over, let's say. And I think there's a comfort level with Greg Berhalter. I think he understands exactly how Greg Berhalter wants to play. Jurgen Klinsmann for so long talked about taking players out of their comfort zone, and I think Greg Berhalter has tried to say, I'm going to put as many players into their comfort zone as possible and give them the best possible chance to succeed. I do think, look, if you're going to play out of the back and you're going to have a commitment of playing out of the back, one of your most important people is your goalkeeper, and the ability to play those little balls over the top to your outside backs, the ability to get the ball back after you've played it short and to switch the field of play, the ability not to panic under pressure. So ultimately, if it's Zach Steffen, whoever it ends up being right there, I think if that's the way the U.S. team is going to play going forward, and that means it's going to play it come hell or high water, I think that's huge. Not just saving the ball, but honestly, the ability to play out of the back and not panic from a goalkeeper's perspective is going to be very, very important going forward. And look, this team also doesn't have yet the return of, or the possible return of something like Josie Altidore, and a guy that that is going to get you goals on a consistent basis. And Josie scored the other day, but it was a strange type of fluke goal. And are you comfortable playing with a guy like Josie Zardes up top when you have a Josie Altidore who's coming back, who's done it year after year, but we also know is older, is also susceptible to injury, and does he even fit into the system under Greg Berhalter?
Final question, Alexi. USA obviously has another friendly against Chile coming up. What are you specifically looking for to see in that friendly? Is it progress? Is it certain roles what are you looking for?
So I'm looking, because I think there's going to be a bunch of changes, which is fine because Greg Berhalter has to see the players. But I would be disappointed if the way they play changes. And so once again, for example, that the right back position that we talked so much about, whether it's Tyler Adams or anybody else, they have to play it in the way that Greg Berhalter wants that position played. And so whoever ends up being the quote unquote right back, that hybrid type of movement and that transition from how they come out, how they defend with a right back and how they attack with a much more central player that comes from the right back position, that shouldn't change. If this is your style, if this is the way you're going to play, that the players all understand, then it shouldn't change regardless of personnel. Maybe we see a Michael Bradley come in, and now the good part is that the young buck Will Trapp has really kind of set that bar. So now Michael has to come in and figure out a way to prove, hey, I know I'm the old buck now, but I still can do the job. And then look, I know a lot of people watched the game the other day and were disappointed that we didn't create a lot of chances. And so, that's a part of the game that obviously has to be worked on, and we want. I think defensively we're solid, but a lot of that had to do with the opposition. But creating opportunities and having somebody that's ultimately going to put the ball in that we are confident is going to get a goal. I mean, I think that's really, really crucial going forward to have a much better attacking type of performance against Chile than we did against Ecuador.
Alexi, we always appreciate your time. It's time for our shameless plug here. So feel free to plug away your Twitter, the podcast, your music, whatever it may be. You have the floor.
Well, we talked about the music. So new album coming out this summer, and that'll be available on all the different platforms, Spotify and iTunes, and all that kind of stuff. The State of the Union podcast comes out each week. I'll record it tomorrow, and then it comes out on Tuesday. Myself and the great David Mossy over there at Fox. I continue to work for Fox. I'll be here. I'll be in this summer in Paris doing that wonderful Groundhog Day for 6 weeks for the Women's World Cup. I can't wait for that. And then we talked about the Gold Cup, both the Women's World Cup and the Gold Cup, the Men's Gold Cup are going to be on Fox. So it's a summer of soccer upon us, guys, and Listen, I appreciate everything that you do. I wish you all the luck going forward, and I thank you for all your efforts when it comes to soccer in the United States. It's a labor of love for all of us, and something that's near and dear.
Thanks again, Alexi.
All right, guys.
Always a great time talking to Alexi Lalas to discuss his hot takes, and he hit us with a really hot take today. Guys, what do you make of what Alexi was saying about Christian Pulisic and his play? And, is he the best player on this team currently?
He's not the best player on the team currently under the Greg Berhalter system because Christian Pulisic has not found his role. Simple fact. Okay? Jake, you agree? Yes or no? Because I know we disagree on the larger point being made.
I think, I think playing him as number 10, you're not getting the most out of Christian Pulisic right now.
Right.
So I will agree.
He deserves I think and Alexi, agreed with us. He's best on the wing. Cristiano Ronaldo is best on the wing. Lionel Messi is best in the position he plays. Andrea Pirlo was best at playing his position. Go on through the list. Wayne Rooney is best at playing the position designed for Wayne Rooney. He's not going to turn into a goalkeeper or right back, whatever position that is. However, talent alone, I think Christian Pulisic is the most talented player in U.S. men's national team history.
History,
huh?
Yes, Oof. And he's 20 years old. I said this 2 years ago. When he was 18, when he was a debutant in the Copa America. I single-handedly think Christian Pulisic is the most talented player U.S. men's national team has ever seen. Now, can that change in 3-4 years when the youngsters start to mature and Pulisic is 26 and Tyler Adams is 23, 24, 25, whatever age he may be? Could that flip? Absolutely. As of right now, March 24th, 2019, it's Christian Pulisic.
I thought Alexi made an interesting point in that if Christian Pulisic played for the New England Revolution, would he be perceived as the best player in the national team or for the pool in general? And that, I mean, no, he wouldn't be perceived as the best player because he's not playing for a European club. What?
Landon Donovan played for the LA Galaxy. Was he not viewed as the best player during his tenure?
I think he had moments, but I would still say Clint Dempsey was a better player than Landon Donovan. I think Landon Donovan had these the goal against Algeria in the 2010 World Cup right at the death of the match.
Yes. Yeah, but Landon Donovan
like that burns into fans' mind of, oh my God, Landon Donovan literally won us that game. And he had big moments like that, but I would still say Clint Dempsey's probably the best player to ever put on that national team shirt.
Yeah, but
I cannot wait for the firestorm. I'm gonna get on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah, at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod, at Jake Watroba, at Armand Kafai, at Steven Jodrand, at Alexi Lalas. Agree or disagree? I don't know, but here's the thing is, Clint Dempsey played for big clubs. In Europe, he helped Fulham reach the Europa League final, beat Juventus, scored a stunner, played for Tottenham. Yet Landon Donovan, who failed in Europe, played at the Los Angeles Galaxy, and he was viewed as the most talented player or most important player.
I think Jake has a point in terms of that bias, like kind of like a weird emotional bias. Like whenever I talk to people who barely watch like soccer and they mention national team, like, oh yeah, Landon Donovan, he's still playing or something like that. Like that name is always attached to something because of that goal. And I think Jake is also right by saying he had moments of brilliance as well. Now, I think regarding a question of Pulisic, at the way he's playing at the club level, if he was playing for Revolution, would he be considered best player? No, I don't think so. And
No,
he'd
but
be
here's the thing.
he'd be considered like a Jordan Morris. Am I wrong by saying that?
No, but here's the thing. If Christian Pulisic was playing at the Revs for however long, and he gets linked like a Tyler Adams to Europe, yes, it changes. But it also displays how talented he is. People in the soccer world will recognize the talent that he is, or this individual may be. So I think there's a middle ground to this. But let me hear your takes on this, guys. Is Christian Pulisic single-handedly the most talented player right now for the U.S. men's national team? On his talent alone, not his role or his position under Greg Berhalter. Because I think there's a distinction to be made. Watching the game last Thursday, it was not Christian Pulisic the most talented player based off those 90 minutes.
I would say right now he is the most talented player, but I would also say that Tyler Adams is nipping at his heels right now.
Yeah, so I mean, I would have to agree that talent-wise he's there, but Adams and McKennie are right behind him. And when I mean right behind him, I mean very close to potentially passing him. I mean, go ahead.
Has the gap closed since Adams
between those guys?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The way Adams has transitioned into a team like Leipzig in the Bundesliga is phenomenal. And, you know, being able to cover all that ground has been great. McKennie being versatile, also, you know, being one of the more important players for Schalke. Look, I hate to be that guy about Pulisic, and like I love Pulisic more than anyone. I mean, me and Steven were always talking about him after that Trinidad match, saying this is the guy who has heart and whatever. But he's not the most important player for Dortmund right now, or even like one of the most important players. He's coming off the bench. McKennie is that guy, because without McKennie, we'll see with Schalke, they might be going down into the second Bundesliga. So, and Adams has been a crucial part of the team too. So, look, man, I'm just saying, like.
All right, guys, let's move it on to asking this question: who is the number 10 within this U.S. men's national team?
Steven, I want to ask Armand actually this question based on the conversation you and I had earlier this afternoon. Armand, I posed this to Steven. He kind of thought I was crazy, I think. To me, it seems like the player best suited to play that number 10 role right now.
Yeah. At Jake Watroba,
is who, Michael
get
Bradley?
ready for this. At Jake
The
Watroba.
player I think who is best suited to play the number 10 right now for the U.S. men's national team is Tyler Adams.
What's the things backing up your take?
I just think he's the best distributor on the team.
I mean, fair enough.
I think you need that at that position.
Why wouldn't you want Adams at the 6 then, if he's the best distributor on your team? Wouldn't you want your 10 to be a little bit more creative in terms of creativity and, you know, gain those moments of brilliance? If you want a distributor, why don't you just throw him at the 6?
They don't look threatening going forward. I'm just going to say that right now. They don't look threatening. I think the number 10 in the striker role is a spot that there are a lot of question marks at right now. And yes, you can argue he should be playing the number 6 based on how well he distributes the ball. But I also think he should be playing at number 10 just because they really don't have anybody else who can create for themselves. Would you disagree with that?
I mean, outside Pulisic, yeah.
And what did we say just 5 minutes ago was that
he's a
Christian
winger.
Christian Pulisic is better suited to play out wide.
Yeah, right. But I think the problem with the number 10 position, it also assumes a level of leadership. And I think we are still struggling to find that leader after, believe it or not, Michael Bradley. I know there's a lot of criticism, and we've criticized him on the show, but there right now they are searching for that next leader, and I do not think Christian Pulisic is necessarily that individual to be that leader.
Guys, Steven, you're definitely right. Christian Pulisic is 20 years old. I think it's preposterous for anybody to throw the leadership role onto his shoulders. He's 20 years old. That should still be Michael Bradley, John Brooks.
I think Trapp, maybe. I know Tim Ream
Trapp
held the captaincy. Brooks, maybe you give it to a goalkeeper. But then again, I don't know if I really want my goalkeeper to be that captain when he is, stuck in his goalkeeping box. And I'd much rather have somebody who plays the field. Then he's able to talk to the referee. He's able to command things. He's able to calm things. He's another mouthpiece of Berhalter on the pitch.
I don't think it matters what position the captain is, to be honest with you. I mean, he could be wherever, man. As long as he's the leader of a team, which right now on that pitch, I'd probably agree. It's probably more of like a Tim Ream. Depending on that lineup, I would probably select Tim Ream as well. Just a guy who's a level head, who's had experience, who's probably a little bit older. I don't think Pulisic is ready for the Captain's armband yet. And that's not like a knock on him at all. It's just guys that are more experienced, have experienced more things, know how to do things, in a different way. But I don't think it really matters positionally where you choose your captain, or if your 10's a leader. I mean, it's whatever, man. Like you just need like certain leaders on the field. I mean, I feel like in that system you could make an argument. You have John Brooks. You could say Tim Ream from the roster that was there. You could say Will Trapp even if you really want to. I mean, I'm not sure if he's a good option in that instance. Like I said, I mean, I don't think it really matters position-wise.
Listeners, if you haven't had a chance to go listen to part 1 yesterday, we talked about the Ecuador game, obviously our first several minutes of our interview with Alexi Lalas. But fellas, this is a conversation that we've had off the show. We've been wanting to talk about it on the show. We just haven't had a chance. Chelsea Football Club's transfer window freeze was upheld by FIFA. And now the questions begin. Christian Pulisic to Chelsea is now suddenly a much more important player. Are we concerned at all with this?
Not really. No, I'm not.
Tell me why you're not concerned, because I was in the boat that when he made the move and people said, "Oh no, not Chelsea. He's going to be part of the Chelsea loan army. He's going to have all this pressure playing in England. They're not a stable club. This is going to be problems for Christian Pulisic." I was in the boat that said, "No, he'll be fine." They didn't spend $75 million, whatever the price tag was, to have him be loaned out back to Borussia Dortmund, or to have him sit on the bench and be subbed in for Pedro or whoever.
I think someone will realize the immense talent that Pulisic has. Like we've talked about. I mentioned how the gap is closing, but like I talked about, I think people are going to see the talent that he has, and whether it's going to be a new manager, which I mean, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it was. He might be used in a much different way. If it's sorry, we'll know how to implement him in that way. You're not going to buy ever $75 million, pounds, or whatever it is, to have him sit on the bench, because that's just terrible business. He's going to have to play at some point. And he's going to have a chance to prove himself. It's going to be on him if he's going to take the onus and play well.
Yeah, I don't know how you're not concerned, Armand. Landon Donovan talking about Pulisic on ESPN.
Oh, Landon Donovan.
Caught offside.
He probably wishes that Pulisic was playing for the Galaxy or something.
He says, quote, "I am a little concerned. I think American fans should be a little bit. I understand the situation at Dortmund now. They are not going to play a player who is leaving in 6 months. The beauty of the situation with Christian is that he, by all accounts, from what I have seen, has a really good head on his shoulders, likes to compete, and is oozing with talent." He continues to say, from that standpoint, it should be fine. But what happens if you go to Chelsea, who, fortunately for him, have a 2-window transfer ban, but have a bunch of talented players, and he doesn't get a chance to play? I think that's a real concern, because, Armand, what happens if he fails at Chelsea? Now, I know I can already hear Twitter going, "Hey, what about all the Kevin De Bruyne's and Mohamed Salah's?" Yeah, fine. But they failed at Chelsea, and what did people think of those players when they did fail at Chelsea?
If he fails at Chelsea, another team's going to snap him up. It's not like
he goes back to the Bundesliga.
He'll go back somewhere. It's not like he's going to go and his career's dead.
But how can you not?
He's only 20 years old.
How can you not be concerned that he has so much pressure now at Chelsea Football Club that the spotlight's going to be constantly on him? Like, it's going to screw with his psyche a little bit.
Well, he has to get used to it at some point because it was going to happen. If you want to be the best player in the world, the spotlight's going to come at some point. Is that your goal as a soccer player?
Well, yeah.
You want to be the best in the world?
But what I'm saying is it's got to be a little bit concerning. I get it. Donovan thinks he has a good head on him. Fine. I think he's a smart. He says the right things. He does the right things. He's a quiet guy. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing whatsoever. But my concern is his poor play at Chelsea. What do you do with the U.S. men's national team? Do you, as a coach, call up a player that does not get consistent playing time at the club? I know that's a huge debate among other national teams is, do you select a player who is obviously very talented but does not play regular minutes at their club?
I mean, the U.S. isn't in a position to be picking and choosing what players. If he's one of the best players in the pool, the U.S. is
We'll choose him every time.
They're not Brazil. They're not Brazil. They can't pick and Brazil. If Brazil didn't want to pick Willian, well, that's fine. They don't need to because they have other players who are as good or better than Willian if they want to. If Willian's not getting playing time at Chelsea, however, the U.S. is not fortunate like that, where they just have this infinite amount of talent that they can pick and choose from. I, however, am a little bit concerned with the fact that it sounds like Pulisic is just going to be the heir apparent to Eden Hazard now. He's just going to get Hazard's probably going to go to Real Madrid this summer, and they're just going to throw Pulisic in and replace Hazard. And I think that's a lot of pressure to put on a 20-year-old kid to say you're going to replace the face of this club, and we spent $75 million on you. Go do your thing.
Let's go. Let's see it.
Who's the manager? Who's the manager next year for Chelsea? I don't think it's going to be Mauricio Sarri. I'm sorry. No pun intended there. I don't think he'll be in charge based on how unstable Chelsea is. They fire managers.
Well, but that's a huge concern for a new player is who's in charge. What's the leadership going to be? What if he finds a coach that says, you're a talented player, but I don't see you in my system, or you're not as of an important player in my system.
You're right, and that's where I'm concerned. And for all the people who are going to sit here and tell me, oh, he should have went to Liverpool, I don't think Liverpool was the right place for him either because of how much talent they have. I don't think he would have saw the field all that much, and then you would have been brought to the question of, well, if he's not playing, should he be called up? Me and Steven talked about this. I think he was better suited to go to Tottenham. I think he would have fit in perfectly at Tottenham. He would have got playing time. He would have played for a great coach in Mauricio Pochettino. He wouldn't have had the pressure placed on him to perform because Dele Alli and Harry Kane are there. He would have just been played third fiddle to those two. And I think that would have been a perfect situation for him. I think being thrusted into Chelsea, being asked to replace Eden Hazard, if that transfer to Real Madrid does happen or wherever he plans to go, if Mauricio Sarri is fired, I think Christian Pulisic is set up to fail. And like Armand said, he might fail. He's not going to go and play in China and just wash out and no one's going to hear from him again.
He's going to come to MLS or something like that.
He's not going to go to MLS.
No, he's not coming to MLS. But
exactly. He won't go to MLS or anything.
He'll probably go back to Bundesliga or wherever. You're right. But if you're a fan of the U.S. soccer, you want to see your players climb this ladder. Chelsea's a big club, but how cool would it be if Christian Pulisic kicked ass at Chelsea and all of a sudden he gets sold off to an even bigger club? Not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying it seems as though Christian Pulisic, with the situation at Chelsea right now, is almost being set up to fail.
Well, we'll see. And last point, it's the Premier League. We know the transition to the Premier League is often rough and tough, and it's not going to be the easiest thing. So if he comes out flying out of the gates, great. That's a great sign. But if there's struggle, I think there needs to be patience. He's 20 years old. Patience. And Chelsea Football Club, do they scream patience? I don't think so.
No, I mean, I agree. We've seen it consistently, They've fired managers, players move on before they bloom, etc. You know what? Look, if Pulisic fails there, he's going to have an opportunity somewhere else. And if he does great there, he's going to be a star. So let's see what happens. Cool under pressure turns into diamond. Right? So let's see what happens when Christian has some pressure on him.
All right, well, there we go. At Armand Kafai, at Jake Watroba, at Steven Jodderin, at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod. Make sure you go back, listen to both parts. Send us your thoughts, comments, concerns. Maybe our takes are a little too hot for you. We'll see. We'll be back. Take care.